Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Other Side of the Struggle. Um, Today, guys, I have really been thinking about what message I wanted to share with you and what it is that I really wanted to talk about. And as you guys have probably seen from the title, that one of the things that I get asked a lot is just how do I not get gaslighted anymore? Like, how do I deal with the gaslighting? And for those of you that might not know what gaslighting is, it's basically where somebody makes you doubt what you know to be true. Okay? Where they're going to give you all this evidence and make you feel guilty for believing that or thinking something different because the evidence has shown you something. So, obviously, I work with women who have dealt with a lot of betrayal trauma, especially due to a husband's addiction. And uh, unfortunately, because of this, men, and I'm not saying all men, okay, but there's a lot of men that kind of freak out when their wives are on the scent, in a sense. She might have found pornography on the phone, or might have found, you know, pictures, or there's just so many things that are pointing that he's looking at pornography. And sometimes it's even just the way he's been acting, right? You can just tell something's up. And so she goes to confront him, and he'll say things like, "Oh, that wasn't mine. I don't know how that got there. You must have been looking at something, or it's got to be one of the kids, or and he'll deflect away from himself, or he'll place the blame back on her by saying things like, "What were you doing looking through my phone? How dare you look through my phone? That is not an okay thing to do. You have broken one of my boundaries now," right? And so there's all of this craziness, making someone feel crazy for confronting them and for seeing what they have seen with their eyes, right? And so it makes a person really feel like, okay, well, here's all this evidence, but I want to believe them. And they say things that kind of make sense. So what do I do? And it keeps a person really, really caught off guard all the time and feeling like they're on shaky ground. Now, I think that there are a lot of men out there that do this on purpose. But I think that there's a lot of men out there that are doing this out of panic as well. And you know, not to judge anyone. It's just I know for me, I don't make very wise decisions either when I panic. And that's not to give a pass to anybody either, but it's just we can understand what that feels like and how we just want to do anything we can do to preserve ourselves in that moment. No, that person shouldn't be doing what they're doing. No, they should not be looking at pornography. No, they shouldn't be doing certain destructive things to themselves and to their marriage and to their spouse, for crying out loud. But my point is just simply that we can understand panic and that it often doesn't lead to good decisions or good communication. Okay? Now, because of that, though, people in general are very, very smart. Um, we tend to understand human behavior better than we think we do. So let's talk about this question. How do I stop the gaslighting? Well, number one, you're not necessarily going to stop people from trying to gaslight you. But it comes down to, again, who you can trust, right? The last couple of like a couple of episodes ago, I talked to Tyrell Wiltsey about trust. I talked last week about trust, but this really comes down to the solid ability to trust yourself. And here's the reason why. When someone is gaslighting you, okay, likely their chances are that they have learned certain psychological points from childhood. Most men that have dealt with some sort of pornography issue have had severe trauma as a child. And I'm talking anywhere between the ages of 0 to 18, okay? Because the brain really is not completely developed until 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And so when we are dealing with trauma, clear up until our brain is developed, we learn certain protective measures so that way we self-preserve. The gaslighting is a self-preserving action. So for example, when someone feels threatened in any way, the brain immediately goes into fight or flight and it says, say this, right? Do this, deflect, get it away. So he's learned certain principles, certain tactics, certain tools of survival. The gaslighting is legitimately a tool of survival. And he knows it works. And he watches for people that have holes in their confidence, holes in their ability to really believe in themselves and what they're seeing and what they know to be true. Because they can not necessarily prey on that. And I don't know that it's always intentional, but self-preservation has some element of prey in there. And I'm not talking about like pray to God. I'm talking about like stalking someone, okay? Because in order to preserve, you have to literally attack before you are being attacked. Now, I say this because I kind of understand this to a certain degree. Looking back at myself, dealing with childhood trauma and relational trauma and marital trauma and all of these different traumas, the tactic I learned was control. I had to try to control another person before they tried to control me. Or I would people please, right? I would people please so that way it would keep people off of my back. The problem with this is that it's a very temporary fix, but when something is coming at you consistently, as a child especially, we look for any out that we can get. And so our brain picks up on certain psychological triggers to throw people off whatever we're afraid of. And hence, here comes the gaslighting. It's just the same thing. The control, people pleasing, gaslighting, it's all the same thing. It's just the brain's way of self-preserving. Okay? So here's what happens though when we as the spouse or as anyone in this other side of the relationship gain confidence. It makes it really, really hard for someone to gaslight us because we are very, very true to what we see, what we believe, and what we know. We're very, very dedicated to our boundaries. We're dedicated to having our own back. And I'm not talking about self-preservation because there's no need for it when you have good confidence, when you have a really high confidence level. And the sad thing about this is as I've been coaching for 10 years, as I've been talking to people, confidence is something that most people really actually struggle with. You think about kids those mean kids back in elementary and junior high, right? That had that swagger, but yet they were so mean to you and loved putting other people down, right? We think of them as confident, but the truth of the matter is those were the least confident kids. But again, because we picked up on certain things in life, in childhood, we have come to believe on kind of a societal level that confidence is legitimately that, like taking and pulling other people down. We think that pride is thinking well of ourselves. And humility is like slapping away confidence and believing the worst thing possible about ourselves. And the truth of the matter is, pride is rejecting everything that's good, including the good things about yourself. Humility is understanding your worth and gaining confidence from it. And wanting other people to find the same joy and the same beauty in their lives. Yes, this is something we definitely want to do. See, when somebody tries to gaslight you and you've got a really high confidence level, the conversation often goes like this. Hey, I hear what you're saying. However, I don't believe it. I see all of this evidence, and I know I know you feel angry. You're welcome to feel that. But there's all of this evidence proving otherwise. And you throwing a temper tantrum right now is not helping me trust you more. It's not telling me that you aren't into anything. The more you sit here and try to gaslight me and make me feel like I'm crazy for what I've seen and the evidence that's before me makes me trust you less. And it just convinces me even more that something's up. If you want my trust, then we need to be consistent on being honest and respectful, and so on and so on and so on. And we continue to say things like that. See, now part of this also gets into the different kinds of boundaries. Now, if you guys have listened to my podcast, you've heard me talk about the 7 pillars, you've heard me talk about the 7 different kinds of boundaries. Really, a lot of this comes down to the listening boundary. And if you remember, the listening boundary is the number 1 boundary. The listening boundary is so important because it's required for setting good boundaries in all the other areas. Remember, you've got, like I said, your listening boundary, but you've also got a talking boundary, which you have to have good listening skills in order to speak back, number 1, what you've heard and what your thoughts are about what you've heard. You have your physical boundary. You need to be able to listen to your body, to what's going on around you, and to take note of what to do. Sexual boundaries. You have to listen to what your partner is asking for. You have to listen to what is okay with you. These are all pieces to setting boundaries. You've got your energetic boundary. You have to listen to the energy in the room. Now, there's some of you out there that might not believe in energy, right? But the truth of the matter is we've all walked into a room and just found that one person that's just like, I don't know, that guy kind of creeps me out a little bit just because they're sending certain vibes, right? But there's so many. Oh, and there's also the money boundary. You've got to listen to what your money's doing, and your time boundary. You've got to listen to your time. in order to set proper boundaries in each one of these different areas. So let's use the listening boundary here for just a minute to hopefully help uplevel our confidence so that way we don't have to deal with so much gaslighting anymore. And so that way we feel okay stating what we state, believing what we believe, and communicating that in a loving, respectful way. See, before I really was working on my confidence, and I really had these deep-seated beliefs about myself that I was unlovable, I was unworthy, I would never be seen, I would never be cherished. I'm a really popular one that was always in my head was I'm always the black sheep, right? Um, and I'm not saying that these are silly thoughts, none of them were true, but I was watching more closely the actions of other people and what they were telling me. And I was using those as a basis of what I should believe. Hence, again, what we've learned in childhood, right? And the opinions of others are really important. But there's other pieces to this. When we actually listen to the voices that are going on in our head, we can start to understand like what it is that's making us feel good and what are the beliefs that are making us feel really crappy. If our confidence is low, if you follow this back a minute, okay? If your confidence is really low, chances are you've got a belief somewhere that's making you feel not good about yourself. Like I said, believing that you're the black sheep, believing that you'll never be cherished, that you're not loving, that you're not worth it, you're not that you'll never have a relationship that shows up for you the way you really want and desire them to. Those are not thoughts that are going to lead to a feeling of confidence. So, this is like the piece where I really love to dial this back and say, let's take a look at what God thinks. Now, again, there's some of you on this podcast that don't necessarily believe in God. So think again of your highest form of love, right? And the highest form of love is that all-knowing, all-loving, all fabulous energy out there. So when you are connecting to your highest form of love, or in my case, that's God, right? Because I believe God has created me. I believe that He loves me implicitly. I believe that He knows all truth about me. And that what He knows about me is going to make me feel really good about me too. Because God does not create mistakes, He creates miracles. And if you are His highest creation, what does that say about you? Right? It definitely doesn't say you're a mistake. It definitely doesn't say you're unlovable. It definitely doesn't say that you're a piece of whatever and that you're not worthy and that you're the black sheep. It says that people are broken and that they have broken beliefs, but you're still beautiful and you're still loved and you are cherished by the greatest being out there, by the highest form of love. And as we lean into those truths, we tend to be able to increase our own love to be able to fill in the gaps. See, my loves, love is not conditional. It never was. To say that love is conditional is to say that God is only God sometimes because God is love. And He promises us His love when we are feeling not enough. So, how do we start to build confidence? How do we really put on these God goggles? And the way we do this is to start taking, like, again, applying that listening boundary to ourselves. Like, I am going to listen to what's going on in my head, not because I want to take it as truth or untruth at the moment, but just to listen. Like, what's really going on there? And we start to write it down. And we start to check in with the feelings that those thoughts are generating. Feelings do not happen without a thought that comes before it. And so when we're feeling certain things, and if we can catch the thoughts, we can actually start to gain some clarity over what's going on. Okay? So if you're catching all these things and you're realizing, oh my gosh, these are really making me feel pretty low as a person, okay? Then what we need to do is we need to change them to two opposites. The opposite of despair is inspiration. And if we are feeling inspired on a consistent basis, that's going to make a difference in our confidence. It's going to help us trust ourselves on a much deeper level. So, for example, say that I heard I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable. I would say, you know what? I believe I'm a daughter of God. And I believe that God is the highest form of love. I believe that He is the greatest being. I believe that He has created all things in heaven and earth, and that I am His crowning creation. Therefore, for me to say that I am not lovable and I'm not worthy of love is to call God a liar. And He's all truth. I know where lies come from. Therefore, this belief has to be a lie. And if we start thinking this way, really, really feeding absolute anchored truth, the things we really do know, to the lies, we end up feeling more and more confident. And we start detecting lies that are coming up on a consistent basis. And we start detecting the gaslighting. And as we sit here and combat our own lies with truth, the lies that the adversary is throwing in our brain, we can turn around and combat the gaslighting with truth. What you're saying might be true. I will acknowledge that. However, the evidence is stronger to tell me that you're lying to me, and I don't appreciate it. So if you really are telling me the truth, then we need to see some consistency in these areas. Another thing you can do when it comes to dealing with gaslighting and dealing with your confidence and bringing your confidence up, we can also think about bringing in that first pillar, right, which is intention. Now, I know it's easy to say, well, let's get intentional and, talking about writing down like the actual truth, saying the actual truth, and getting more acquainted with the truth. That is all very intentional, right? But it takes some brain power to really sit down and think about what it is that we really, really do want out of this relationship and what we really do want to stop. Because we can say we want the gaslighting to stop, that's fine. But in order for something to stop, you have to be very intentional and very clear about what it is you really want to see happen instead. Okay. So one of the ways I really love to start, explaining intention is by first explaining what is expectation, which is the adversary to intention, right? Now, we know how unfun it actually feels to live in somebody else's expectation. Now, an expectation is kind of just a bit of a manipulative energy. This is why we don't like gaslighting, is because what's happening with the gaslighting is someone is literally putting their expectational energy on you. They expect you to be blind to what they're doing or to be completely oblivious to it. And so here we are throwing people off the scent, right? Doing everything we can do to throw them off the scent. However, when we become intentional, we're literally claiming our power back. And now, as I've said, if you're going to stop the gaslighting, you have to start getting really, really clear with your confidence. So the intention, therefore, would be, hey, let's get our confidence up and running to get it really solid. But that also is going to mean you're going to have to get really clear with what it looks like for you to be a confident person. That's going to mean that you're going to have to learn what it takes for you to speak in a confident way. Can you unravel some of these beliefs that you have about having a good opinion of yourself, to have your own back, and unravel some of the opinions that you might have about hope and uh, humility and pride? My loves, you're not meant to be the bus mechanic. Only the bus mechanic is meant to be under the bus, not you. Getting intentional with what it is you truly want, with what it is that you want to create, means you're going to have to sit down and really ask yourself this question: what is it that I really want? And what am I willing to do to get it? What beliefs do I have to give up? What is it that I actually have to sacrifice? Sacrifice is an intentional habit. So that way I can create room for this new thing. So when we want the gaslighting to stop, when we want the lying to stop, that is an intentional, that means we're going to have to start creating some things in an intentional way. It's also really clear, important, I should say, to get clear with the expectations that you do have. Now remember that an expectation, which is the adversary to intention, right, is basically when you set a goal and you want somebody else to achieve it. So if you're being gaslighted, the person that's gaslighting you has the goal to keep doing what they're doing and have you be completely oblivious to it, right? And so they put all of these lies or this making you feel crazy in place so that way they can manipulate you into fitting into their goal. So when we sit down and we say, well, what is it that I actually expect out of myself? What is it that I really expect out of my spouse? And, it's okay to say, well, I expect honesty, right? The way that we shift this is by saying, hold on a second, I intend to be honest. I intend to tell the absolute truth, even if it makes them mad. Because honestly, part of what shifting expectation into intention is considering what it is you truly want and being willing to give that in the relationship. If you want respect, you have to give respect. If you want love, you have to give love. If you want honesty, you have to give honesty. And the truth of the matter is if you're being gaslighted or lied to, the only way to combat that is with truth. Loving truth, yes, but truth nonetheless. Because the thing that a lie dies at is the truth. Okay? My loves, confidence is so valuable. It is so important. And it truly is the key ingredient to being able to set boundaries that people can break, but that you're not going to feel completely thrown off guard because somebody broke it. You're going to be able to know what your next step is. Truly, 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 the opposite of betrayal is confidence. People can still betray you when you're feeling confident, but when you have anchors in place, anchors of truth, anchors of this is what I know, and these are the tools that I'm going to use, betrayal tends to come out of us so much quicker. Like we just don't dwell on it. And we can consistently move forward, creating our best lives and our best results. So, with that in mind, I wanted to talk to you guys really quickly about the Unashamed Image Program. Now, if you would like more help gaining your confidence and speaking the absolute truth, creating boundaries from truth, because those are crazy, solid, awesome boundaries, and you're tired of being gaslighted, you're tired of feeling crazy, you're tired of, feeling like you're being blown all over in the wind. And if you are really, really ready to live a life on your terms, then let's chat about the Unashamed Image Program. It's going to go from November 7th to February 13th, with a break for Christmas, and we will meet every single week. There's a lot of fabulous bonuses, including a ticket to Rejuvenate You. And now you guys know for a fact I've had a lot of the speakers as guests on this podcast. Rejuvenate You is going to be amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. We're going to be talking about healing money stories, healing betrayal. Obviously, I'm going to be there talking about the 7 pillars. We're going to be talking about how to heal relationships. And really, it's going to be a 3-day event where you are going to be able to take some fabulous tools away and use them to up level your life from here on out. So you're not feeling stuck in the same ruts that you are currently facing. You guys get a free ticket to that +1 with this program. I really, really would love to come and see you. I want you to come chat with me. If this is something that speaks to you and you are really ready to take some action, you're done living the way you've been living, and you're done wondering whose fault it is, and you're just done. You're not willing to live another moment with this kind of betrayal, please give me a call. Let's chat about the Unashamed Image Program, and let's get you working with me. Okay, my loves. Hopefully this was helpful this week. Let me know too if you guys have any questions. Message my page, Erin Anderson Betrayal Trauma Coaching on Facebook, if you guys would like me to answer some questions in the podcast. And if you guys have anything specific that is happening, please feel free to reach out. So, anyway, my loves, from my heart to your heart, come join me in the Unashamed Image. Come join me at Rejuvenate You. I will see you next week. See you on the other side, guys. Bye.